I really, really wanted to like Predator Badlands, but it's possible that watching it at home, everyone could make one change, everyone, that might make it okay. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Predator Badlands reads, oh crap, where'd my, I forgot to decode this. Oh yeah, a young predator outcast from his clan finds an unlikely ally on his journey in search of the ultimate adversary. All right, so what is this animal? It definitely is different. Definitely is different. We are, well, first off, we are definitely more fully joining the Predator verse with the Ridley Scott Alien verse, because Weyland-Yutani is like a core concept, a core through line. There's a synth, an AI android character that was made by Weyland-Yutani. I mean, that they're very, very much a part of the story here. We're also, though, making a shift, boy, similarly to Alien Earth, now that I think about it, of making the alien, the title alien, not scary anymore. I mean, Predator has been losing its fear factor for a while, but now, like, the story is about a predator, not just in the sense of like Alien versus Predator, the first one, because there was at least kind of like a human that was trying to survive at the same time. This time, the synth doesn't really need to survive. She just kind of survives because she's a synth or whatever and is not worried about anything. This one is totally about this main character named Deck, who is a predator, the runt of the litter, has no honor in his clan. His last chance at honor is to go on this totally impossible hunt. But without any humans, that really is the first big thing that takes away a sense of stakes. Because there's no human face that I'm looking at that is expressing fear, is expressing tension, is expressing rage. Yes, they're doing motion capture and trying to project that onto the CG predator's face, but you can only do so much to convey those emotions from a totally alien face. And so there's just not the same sense of emotion driving the motivations of the characters that is detectable, to me anyway. And because Tia, the synth, is a synth, and she's missing half of her body for a lot of this movie, but not, screaming in pain or anything like that. Doesn't seem to be concerned about death. She's got her objectives, a mission that she needs to fulfill or whatever, but beyond that, she's not concerned about anything. And she is clearly there to largely be funny. And so that also deflates a sense of tension, a sense of stakes. We are meant to, from the very beginning of this movie, dislike the values of predator culture. Now that makes sense when the predator is a bad guy, but when you take a predator and you make it your main character, then I'm like, okay, so you've just showed me here, you've reminded me how barbaric and cold this predator culture is, how devaluing of life they are, and yet I'm supposed to root for this main character to go out and achieve honor so he can come back and have a place in his clan? I totally disagree with the whole virtue system that the predator race has at this point. So why should I root for him to succeed? And I shouldn't. In fact, the movie itself makes that clear by the end. It's just a weird path. They do try to humanize Deck, as I said, but that only partially works. It makes him seem naive and slightly incapable at times. It removes the mystique of the predator race. They're even doing some things like projecting human traits, human mannerisms, physical mannerisms onto a couple of predator characters at the beginning when they're alone interacting with each other, like kind of like a bro slap on the shoulder. I'm like, what is that? What are you doing? It makes them seem too much like us. And the fascinating thing that draws us in about monsters is trying to figure them out, because they seem so different. There's some things we can glean and figure out, oh, they're a bit like us in this way, but oh, what's this about? Where that's what makes monster movies often so interesting. And they've removed a lot of the mystique here, and certainly goes without saying that I may never be scared of a predator in any circumstance ever again. Tia, like I said, she's this jovial AI, unconcerned about danger, and she's also, in my particular worldview, not a person, so I'm not concerned for her well-being to start with. Even if she was at least like simulating emotions of fear and stuff, that might make me second guess my cold detachment from her, but she's not afraid, she's not concerned, and I don't think of her as a person to begin with, and so I'm just like, I don't care about her. I'm not rooting for the main character. There's also, on top of all this, what I will call a CG space monkey that is brought in for comic relief. The cute kind of Disney animal that's supposed to be like a pet, and everything they do, they have big, cute eyes, and there's a whole sequence actually at the end of this campfire scene where there's silliness going back and forth between Deck and the CG space monkey. And my gosh, what the crap is happening? Now, is there action? Is there blood flying everywhere? Maybe not everywhere blood flying, but there's plenty of blood. I think they get away with a PG-13 rating because it's alien blood. And when human-looking characters are damaged, they're synths. And so there's just sparks and metal flying. So it's not that the violence is toned down, but the nature of the violence is different. And I think that's why it gets the PG-13 rating. However, all the action in the world, all the violence and the dismembering or whatever, and the green glowing blood in the world isn't going to give me any kind of sense of stakes. Even though there's some interesting visual designs for some creatures, without stakes, the CG action is just noise. Dialogue, which is mostly between Deck using subtitles and Tia speaking English, is extremely obvious. She's got a translator so she can understand what he says, even though she's speaking in English. And she is, when he'll say things, you'll notice in her dialogue that at least part of her response involves restating something that he just said, or overly referring to something that he just said. And this convinces me that the script was written with the intention that there not be subtitles for the Predator language. If the intention was to have subtitles all along, then, oh man, I do call into the question the skill of the writing of the script. It's really rough. But I really do think the best at this point of the writer, not knowing anything about them. I'm willing to believe the best, and that the intent is no subtitles. In that case, you do need to have one character that is implying, at least in some way, what they just heard the other character say as they give their response. And I think, in that way, it could work. It'd certainly work much better, or be less, I don't know, offensively annoying to me. All right, as far as the cast performances, really just Elle Fanning is the only one I would make much comment on. She is playing a different character type than I'm used to seeing her play. She's got more energy and joviality, and she does a fine job, and it's different from her norm. But it's not like this superb, that's all I have to say about the acting, because there are very few human actor performances outside of motion capture in this movie. As far as stunts and visuals, hey, CG, neat. Lots of that. There's plenty. Okay, themes. Can you guys tell I'm racing through this? I want to be done thinking about this movie. As far as themes, anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of this thing that could trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation. I think potentially there's like a little bit of an anti-hunting vibe. By the end of the movie, thematically, what they do at the end of the movie, if they follow this line through, predators may stop hunting at some point. Oh my gosh. But that bothers me not on a thematic, philosophical level. I don't have strong views for or against hunting, really. It bothers me more on just like a what are we doing to this franchise level. But something that is more on a thematic level that I do think is worth kind of thinking about and questioning that is going on in this movie is a sort of vibe that says, bite me, bio family. Bite me, family I was born into. I'm getting my own family. Now, let me be clear in saying that the concept of a found family can be beautiful. I think found family, in addition to healthy families we're born into, or that we have connections because of marriage into. In addition to those things, I think is where we want to find our found family. In Jesus, because of the adoption made possible for believers in Jesus, we are adopted into God's family. That is like the most beautiful found family that there is. So found family and metaphors, stories that use the idea of found family, I can be very much, and have many times been very much in support of them, appreciative of them. But there's something different going on here. There is like an antagonism toward family that we're born into in this movie. At least all the family members that are left standing after a few things happen. Now, it's true that following Jesus can and will cause division. Jesus even said as much, that like there's going to be division among families. That's part of what I'm doing is going to result in. But it's never the intent that those divisions be brought about because of hate and anger on our part. Sometimes healthy boundaries need to be set, so that's certainly a thing. But we should never be like setting up strong boundaries between us and the families that we were born into in an attitude of anger or hatred. This movie, unwitting though it likely is, I want to say clearly, encourages us, I think, to feel satisfied when characters hatefully, violently end their relationships with family members. Those who hate a family member and see this movie may very well both connect with and find satisfaction in these moments because of their life situations. But I don't think that's a satisfaction that we should feed. I don't think that's a fantasy that we should feed, even if we're not completely consciously aware of it. I don't think that that's healthy, and family conflict or breaking ties is definitely not something we should be doing in anger or finding satisfaction in as Christians. So an interesting just point, I think, worth observing in what's going on in this movie. All right, so how can this movie be fixed by everyone watching at home at some point? Well, let's jump to my time traveling shtick. I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, skip this one for now. And if you do end up watching it, then wait a year, watch it at home with subtitles off. Subtitles off. This will likely restore some sense of mystery and trying to figure out the predators. And you don't need the subtitles. There is nothing said by predators in this movie and that's contained in the subtitles that is all that interesting or clever or funny. I think there's one scene they probably think something funny is going on. But if you are casually paying attention to what Tia is saying, you'll be able to infer what was just said by the predator. And if you're really paying attention, then I think every instance you'll be able to figure out what the basic idea is that's being said. There's one scene, one situation where it's like, okay, without the subtitles, I really would have had to have been paying attention at this scene early in the movie and remembering that detail here. But that's just one example. The rest of it, you're good, and it will be improved to not see those subtitles. Without subtitles, you probably won't find this to be a good movie experience for your tastes, but maybe an okay one. And as a big fan of the Predator franchise, you might even be willing to settle for that, unfortunately. This one's rated PG-13 for sequences of strong sci-fi violence. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Predator Badlands. As always, love getting your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. I would love it if someone commented and said, I don't know what you're talking about, Peter. I really enjoyed this movie, man. I'm happy for anyone that's able to enjoy this movie. Would love to get any of your thoughts below. Please also like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.